Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Lovely to have you here joining us for this CiviPlus 101 session. And today we're going to be focusing on energizing your charity's digital fundraising. This introductory webinar talking about all the functionality that CiviPlus can give to your charity. So we will just quickly introduce ourselves on the next slide. So my name is Louise, and I am the Chief Growth Officer of CiviPlus. And my background is actually as a fundraiser. I work for lots of different charities. I've used lots of different CRMs, and I've been a user of CiviPlus. And I also know the difference. Having a good CRM, a strong CRM, being the backbone of your organization can really make to your fundraising efforts and to all of your efforts across an organization. I'm so really excited to be sharing with you more about CiviPlus later on. We'll hand over to Patrick.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrick. I'm the sales executive at CompuGo. I'm relatively new. I've been here since January, and my background is from social enterprises. So I worked in East Africa with social enterprises, and so I've seen, similar to lots of the organizations that I can see are here, and worked closely with charities there. Pass over to Alex.
Yeah, and I'm Alex. I'm marketing manager here, so I'm responsible for putting together these webinars, and yeah, I'm also CRM administrator, so I've had lots of experiences in CRM, so I'll be talking about more things later. But I think for now, I'm going to pass back over to Louise.
Thanks, Alex. And I will also mention Gary is here too as well from the CiviPlus team. He's not presenting today, but he is joining us. So Gary, if you'd just like to introduce yourself so everyone here knows who you are.
I'm Gary White. I'm the U.S. account coordinator based in Austin, Texas. Still newish to the team, still learning. So happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you. Yes, we've recently expanded our team into America, having someone there on the ground. So really excited for Gary to get to know. I see we've got quite a few Americans joining us today. So Gary will be looking forward to speaking with you in the future. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about some fundraising challenges. We're going to introduce you to CiviPlus and talk about how we're going to energize your fundraising through the CRM. Before we get, and then we'll have time for some Q&A at the end. If there are any questions as we're going along, please feel free to pop them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them, or we'll save it till the end, depending on how the timing's going. But before we get started, we always like to run a little poll, just so we have a little bit of an idea of who we're talking to. So if you could please fill this in. We asked two questions. First of all, what database or CRM do you currently use, if any? And if you do have one, do you feel like your CRM supports your fundraising? So how much are you using your CRM to work with you in this area? So it's always just good to get a little bit of an idea of the different types of people that join the call and kind of where they're coming from. So I can see lots of people are filling this in now, which is great. Oh, we have a real mixture, I think, which is really interesting always. So we always we've got to try and pitch, we pitch these webinars, knowing we're going to have a variety of experience and knowledge and different types of organizations. So, it's really good to just know really, kind of the starting point, which seems to be very different for everyone here. So I think that's probably everyone's answered. So we can share the results. You can see really we've got some people using CiviCRM or CiviPlus, but quite a few using other CRMs, also spreadsheets as well. And so that would be really exciting for you to really see what a CRM could do for you. And then in terms of how much your CRM is supporting your fundraising, and that also seems to be quite split in terms of people who aren't really using it because they don't have a CRM yet, and also people who would like some help thinking about even more areas that it could enhance. So, okay, great. That is good to get us going. So without further ado, let's go into the presentation. Over to you, Alex.
Yes, so let's talk about some fundraising challenges. If we're going to talk about how we want to energize our fundraising, what are the big things that we're going to need to energize and get going and kind of overcome? So if we look at the next slide, we have a list of some common challenges. And I think the top one, obviously, here is limited resources. You know, for any, especially in the nonprofit sector, we'd all have more time, we'd all have more staff members, but what can we do with what we have? Limited outreach, how can we get out to more people, get our message out, make it, you know, in the different channels that we want to use? This is something that we're constantly needing to think about. How do we keep a 360-degree view of all the contacts, so all the interactions you have with them, making sure that we really have that whole picture of how you interact with, you know, donors, trustees, all the big stakeholders that you might be dealing with. Payments need to be easier to make. So depends how you're doing this. You might be doing it online, but equally you could be doing it over the phone. So how do we make it as effortless as possible, not only for us to process, but for people who want to make payments to, you know, help us fundraise? How do they pay as easily as possible? Historic data is not organized effectively. So we all, well, if you're on spreadsheets, we all know we've all had spreadsheets where everyone has their own spreadsheets. Data gets siloed on either, you know, spreadsheets or on one data source or another. How do we bring it all together so it is kept consistent? Attributing and tracking donations. So you might be running multiple different campaigns. How do we know which campaigns each donation is coming into, and keeping, you know, the reporting on that quite tight and strong? And of course, the super important one at the end, donor retention and engagement. How do we keep our donors engaged, make sure they keep coming back, make sure that they keep supporting us? So next slide. Now we've laid out some of those problems. Well, what we'd say is that actually a CRM really does help energize your fundraising and helps you progress on quite a lot of these different issues. So Patrick, if you press, one thing that CRM is really, really strong at is helping that you do the automation. So we talked about limited resources. Well, it helps you do a lot with, you know, what you already have, and takes away some of the manual tasks and does them for you. You know, things like, as we'll talk about later, the kind of thank you emails, or the little bits that are really important to do, but actually quite, you know, take up quite a bit of time if you're going to do it one by one. And of course, it records all points of contact, so you don't miss any of that. It's all in one place. It also helps with data centralization and segmentation. So again, puts everything in one place. It's not all on its own, you know, spreadsheets anymore. It's all there, and then you can segment the data, and you can do really powerful things with segmentation. We've done webinars on that before. But, you know, how do we split our data into different lists depending on, you know, geographic area or whatever, and really get the most out of what that can mean for reporting or mailing or whatever you want to do. Online payments and direct debit. And, you know, there's a lot you can say about that. How to make it so you can make these online payments effortlessly, and direct debit, which is even better than just online payments, because how can we set up these recurring payments so that you can get a recurring income every month that you can rely on? That's something that CRM makes much easier. Engage with email and events. So, you know, how do we engage with our donors? Email, of course, is a fantastic one. It's probably one of the most cost-effective ways that you can engage with your donors. And events as well. You know, there's nothing quite like being at a big event. Obviously, it takes more organizing, but how do we get the message out there? How do we make it easier to organize on the back end? And finally, campaign attribution and powerful reporting. You can attribute and track all of the stuff that you're doing in terms of your donors. You know, you can see all the donations coming in, put them against campaigns, keep track of where they're going on contacts, and you have powerful reporting tools that can keep track of all the different parts of what you're doing. And so with that, I'll pass over to Louise, who's going to talk more specifically about CiviPlus.
Thanks, Alex. Right, so for those of you who haven't yet been introduced to CiviPlus, we're very happy to tell you all about it. Well, CiviPlus is basically, it's designed as a non-profit dedicated CRM. So it's specially been designed for this sector, covering all kinds of nonprofits, from charities to educational, arts, government institutions, membership associations. And with that in mind, it's also been designed as very easy to use understanding that people need to not need an IT or technical person necessarily in their team, especially if you have a small team. You just need to have something that's intuitive and easy to understand. It's an all-in-one platform, so you get all the features included out of the box. It's extremely powerful. It is designed to be cost-effective because it is designed with nonprofits and charities in mind, and designed to be scalable. So it's a starting point. We like to say that you can lay the digital foundations for your organization's future, which is really important depending on the mission of your organization. But what does CiviPlus do? So what we're going to do is give a brief overview of some of the key features of CiviPlus, and then we're going to go into some of the sections that are most relevant for the topic today. And then we'll give a little bit of a demonstration so you can actually see the CRM in action. So just to start us off, just going to give you the top line overview of CiviPlus. So first of all, of course, it can manage contacts as you would expect it to do. But one of the best things about CiviPlus is that it really understands relationship management in a charity. Because let's be honest, in a charity, one contact could be several things for you. They could be a donor, but they could also be a volunteer. They could also be on a committee. They could be several different things. And Civi really understands how to manage and map those networks and those relationships so that you can make sure not to miss anything and not to like overlap, you know, fundraiser to fundraiser with any individual donor that you might be cultivating. Taking payments online. So obviously making donations easy, making event bookings easy. We use Stripe to take payments online, and we also use Go Cardless to take recurring payments, recurring direct debit payments. Tracking fundraising opportunities, of course, very important. So we'll be showing you a bit more about that later. CiviPlus also has the ability to manage memberships. So if your organization also has a membership program, there's a comprehensive functionality there. There's a built-in events module so that all of your event bookings can be taken. You can have your event registration form built out of the system, and all that data then immediately goes into the right place. So you can track the bookings, but also on an individual's contact record, you can see if they've attended or registered or what's going on. And that's really, really important when you're looking to analyze your data and who and what is coming to your events. Drag and drop email builder, again, a built-in email builder functionality, which we're going to show you later. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that now. We do have a case management module, which if your organization needs to manage any kind of cases, if you perhaps provide services or managing any kind of inquiries, we can do that all through the system. There's a task dashboard, my favorite thing. Not only can you have tasks for yourself, and then you can check them off as you're going along, but the best part is you can also assign tasks to other members of staff. So if you're speaking to someone and you want somebody else to follow up with them, you can easily assign that. And my team get that a lot from me. Reporting and analytics. So there are, I think, over 100 report templates already built in. And you can also have the ability to create your own report and show exactly what you want to see. Surveys and petitions, we always encourage our clients, ask the people what they want, send out surveys, send out feedback forms, find out what people are interested in, and then store all that data in the CRM so you can analyze it and use those insights to help guide your decisions going forward. Managing volunteers, very important within a charity often, but also across many nonprofits. So the ability to have volunteer applications and keep track of who is doing what is very important, leading me nicely into tracking applicants. So there's lots of different kinds of applications that can happen, perhaps for a grant, for volunteering, as I said, for training, whatever it might be, you can track any kind of application within the system. And then if you are a grant-giving organization, we also have grant management functionality. All-important certificate generator, especially for a charity. If someone has done something fantastic for you, you'd like to send them a certificate in recognition. So you can do that within the system. And again, store that against their record so you know what you've sent them. And we do have a self-service portal, which may or may not be relevant for some organizations. but it's an opportunity for people, for your supporters or donors to be able to log in, manage their own details. And it's a really good area sometimes for committees or for volunteers to get information in a space that's not your website, but it's more curated for them. And so that's something that is less relevant for today, so we won't dwell on that, but I did want you to know about it. Okay, that's the whistle stop overview tour. Now let's dig in and see, focus on the areas that can really help energize your fundraising. So we're going to start off with contact management. Now, the most important thing here is that you're going to get a 360-degree view of any contact. You're going to have all the information related to that contact in one place. And people who are on spreadsheets at the moment, I think this is something that would be really useful for you going forward. You can store different contact types. So if someone is an individual, or if they are a trustee, or if they are an organizational record, you can differentiate. You can create and manage multiple relationships, as I already mentioned, and we'll see that in the demo in a minute. Every single activity can be logged, so you can really keep track of all of your interactions with your prospective donor and any of their interactions with you. You can have different permissions for different users, which can be really important in some organizations in terms of confidentiality. If you don't want some members of staff to be able to see certain donor information, you can set permissions. The system comes with a GDPR preference center, so people can select their preferences and you can make sure to adhere to them. And we have the ability to create custom fields. So if there's certain information that you want to store or capture, you will be able to add that field yourself to the system and then collect that data. So now I'm going to hand over to Patrick, who's going to take you on a tour of the system, the contact area of the system.
I think Patrick's internet's just crashed, actually, Louise.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. Okay, that's fine. I'll do it
Live.
myself. Yeah, no problem. Never a dull moment, as we say in live webinars. Okay, one moment. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Second desktop. Here we go. We can all see that?
Yep, your screen's showing.
Okay, so contact management. Okay, so we are going to, let me just check that the setting is correct. Good. Okay, ready to go. So we're going to log in as Sarah's staff member, as you might do, and you'll come first to your home page, and you can actually set up different reports on your home page that will be relevant to you. And then at the top, we're going to do a quick search for a contact, John Redman. Now, John Redman, he's a good friend of ours, and we really always look at his record, and there's got lots of things going on, luckily. So here is what a contact record looks like. So it's nice and easy to see, where you've got all of his key information laid out, and then all the different areas of the system down the left-hand side that he could be connected to. So on the front page, we can see his email address, and he can have several email addresses, choosing which one is primary. You've got home address, and you can actually link an address with another contact. So if people are partnered up or in the same household, very easy to link those. And if they move, then you only change one. Here's our GDPR preference center, where you can either manually select, or you can ask them to fill in a form to choose their preferences. And then over here on the side, you can see where the preferences have been clearly marked. You've also got a list here of mailing subscriptions they might be subscribed to, and you can manage that as well. And then here's our example of custom fields. So here we put in favorite football team, Arsenal. I think that was Patrick. Apologies to any Spurs supporters out there. And interest areas, which could be really important to collect. So obviously you can choose what fields you want to capture information for. These are just a little example to show you. And now we're going to move into relationships tab. So we can see here an example of the different kinds of relationships. So the first one is actually John is an employee of JS & Sons, and relationships are actually two-way. So if we click into JS & Sons, we're going to go into their organizational record and see all of the employees listed under their relationships tab. I mean, it's not a very big company, but it's good to see who's there. So if we click back into John Redman, and then we go back into his relationships tab, we can see actually he's got a couple of inactive relationships. And actually, that's because he had previous employments that have changed. But we don't want to delete that information. We want to keep it. and build up a rich history of every contact that you've got. And actually, in moving on to activities now, we can see here a whole list of activities where John has interacted with our organization. Now, some of them are manual activities, such as a meeting that he might have had in person. So then you would need to record that meeting and all the notes from that meeting. But then there are other interactions, such as an email or an event registration that will automatically get logged as he interacts with the system. And then over here, we can see on the events tab, every event that he's registered or attended. And you can see if there was a ticket price and if he actually showed up, very important in the world of fundraising. And then once you've got that information, you can also see, you can also manually add an event registration if you need to, if someone wants to do an event registration over the phone, because I know some people do. And also then we're going to click into the contributions tab, where we can actually see his history of all the contributions that he's made. So that's the first introduction to the contact record. And now we're going to move on to mailing and segmentation, which Alex is going to take us through.
Yes, so mailing segmentation. Mailing, of course, massively important. As Louise did mention before, there's the drag and drop email builder within CiviPlus. So that's a really lovely piece of functionality. If you've used anything like MailChimp or you've used anything, it's like blocks that you drag onto something really, really simple and easy to use whilst making beautiful looking emails. And of course, you can make design templates from this. So, you don't need to start from scratch every single time. You can set something up the way you like it, and then just start with that every time. So, you'll probably have a standard format for your charity's email, so you can then reproduce that as you will in the future. As part of this as well, there's an image library. So that means, all the images that you might use frequently, things like your logo, of course, you can put that into the image library, and then you can easily put that onto your email as needed in the future. Segmentation is also very, very easy within the CRM, of course, because you've got your list of contacts, you've got all the data in there, and then you can filter them based on that. And you can do things like you can do it as a static list, so a list that just is a one-time off, maybe for something like an event. But you could also have something where it updates itself automatically, or dynamically, however you want to put it, based on the filter criteria. So let's say geographic area, maybe how much they've donated. Really, really powerful in terms of who you want to target with specific emails and how they might, respond to them. Beyond this, there's also A/B subject line testing. For those of you less familiar with kind of the marketing talk there, this kind of means maybe you have kind of two ideas for what you want as your subject line. You have subject line A, you have subject line B. In order to test that, and you've got to test it, you can do kind of like a mini thing where you send out about 10% of your emails to one thing, 10% of your emails to another, using those two subject lines. And then you can choose, the remaining 80% to go out to whichever one had the higher open rate. We'll be showing it off a little bit in the demo we're doing in a short bit, so it might make more sense at that point, but really powerful bit of functionality there. All of this is backed up, of course, by mailing reports. Really important that we're looking at all the opens, the click-throughs, those kind of things. And you can see those at a very granular level as well, who is clicking on each thing, each individual part of the email they could click on. And it's worth saying that all the data here is integrated as a contact record. So there's no, uploading spreadsheets, which again, you might be familiar with from other mailing tools. It goes directly through, but it also means it goes back through the other way in terms of if you go onto a contact record, you can see the history of all the mailing emails, also of all the email campaigns that have been sent. So that's kind of like a brief overview of all the functionality within that.
Great. Now we're going to have a demo on segmentation. Alex, would you like to do that? Because Patrick hasn't been able to get back in.
I'm back in.
Oh, he's back here now.
You're back in. Hi, Patrick.
Yeah.
Oh, we're skipping ahead. No, yeah, here we go.
Sorry. Okay. Are you all right? Would you like to take over again?
Yeah, fantastic. And so as Alex said, we're going to be here and showing how to segment your contacts, and then you can use that to email the exact group of contacts you'd like. So in this, we're going to go into Search Kit.
No, I think you need to share your screen, Patrick.
Patrick, we're seeing a blue screen.
Aha.
I think it's still saying Louise's. Oh, was this Patrick's?
Screen. Can everyone see that now?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay,
So
cool.
rewind a little bit, yeah.
So we're going to segment our contacts. We're going to use SearchKit to create a list of previous donors, and we're going to create a list of previous donors who are based in London. So up here, we're naming our group. We're going to call, and then we're going to, on the left here, we have the data we're going to search through. And so we're going to search through contributions and addresses. And on the right, we have the data, what we're actually searching for. So we're searching for individuals who have completed a contribution, and the city that they're based in is London. So we can add optional extras as well on that. And then here we're creating a table, and we can add what data we'd like to see on that table. So we're adding their contact ID, their name, their city, the date that they have, or the multiple dates they've contacted and they've donated on. So you can see here that this person has donated multiple times, Jack has donated twice, and another person has donated just the once. So we've saved that search, and then we've added it to a smart group. So that smart group means that anyone who newly becomes a member or is a donor, and also kind of matches those criteria of being in London and has donated, they automatically get added to that smart group. And we're going to title that group Previous Donors in London. We can describe it, and we can make sure it's created as a mailing list here. So we're going to save that. And then once it's saved, we can create an email going out to all the donors in London, asking them, there might be an event happening. We can send that, and we can see here, there's in the list of recipients, you can choose previous donors in London, and we can see that's the 7 people we found before on that list. Perfect. So I'll hand over now to Alex for the mailing demo.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, you just need to open up the video, Patrick. Great. Yeah, so here's the mailing section. We're starting off in the groups. You can create groups different ways than we showed you. But if we go through to the mailing section, you can see we're looking at an email we made earlier rather than starting from scratch. So you can see a bit of pretty stuff. Choose the mailing name if you want it to be part of a campaign, mailing name being internal. Who it's from, you can send it from multiple different addresses that you can set up. You can choose, who you're going to send it to, as Patrick's already shown, which you can include certain groups, but you can also exclude certain groups. So if you want to kind of cross-reference, different people and have a look at the preview there. Here's the subject line, as you can see. But it's not just a normal subject line that you can do. You can also add a token. So if I want someone's first name, for instance, to be in the email subject line, I can do that quite easily, as you can see there. Here I've got the A/B testing I was talking about. So I don't know which of those is going to perform better. So I can then test the 2 different ones. And as you can see, the final mailing will then go out to the 78% as I've selected there. Here we've got our normal kind of like interface, as you can see, to drag and drop different things in. Just putting something over there. As you can see, it's very customizable, the different blocks. We've got standard blocks, and can make it all look very beautiful. Add links, of course. Do things with background colors. You can choose your own colors. As you can see, it's very customizable there. You can also select for a single block, or you can make it, apply to the whole email. So if you want one specific section blue, for instance, you can do that. Link colors, of course, are also customizable here. And you can insert any Google font you want within the system. So if you want to make your font there, you can have it. Here's the image gallery I was talking about, where you can store all your images. You can, of course, test your email, whether that's to an individual person or to a group. So if you want to see, is it really going to look like how it looks like in the interface, then that's simple to do. And send it out and have a look at that. And once we're out of here, we can then go and schedule the email. So, you can send it immediately, of course, but you can also send it on a specific date and time, which is really useful. Maybe you're away next week, but you want to have it sent off anyway. So it can do that. You can save draft. So, of course, And once we've then done it, really important, as I've said before, you can get all the mailing reports. So we're not going to dig into all of those in detail now, but you can see there's a wide range of reports you can choose from. So yeah, thanks. And I believe next it is me still with events. Yes. So event management, we did say, and Louise mentioned that there is a whole events management functionality within Civi, and it is, really, really good and powerful. So you can create events of any size or type within it. It's very flexible. You can create free events and also paid events. So, obviously some are going to be free, and you've got a lot of flexibility of how, you do the payment for them, including, of course, the online registration and payment. So all of this can take place online. You can do it in other ways, as Patrick will be showing a bit in the demo. But if you want to take it all online, you can. You can also do automated emails to participants. And this is a really, really important thing to say. The called scheduled reminders within the system. But basically, if you want to remind people just before or after an event, of a certain thing, even if you want to do a specific subset of who's attending, like speakers, please remember X and Y, you can do that. And that's super, super powerful. Event templates. So if you're running the same kind of event again and again, it's going to be quite tedious if you had to create a new event of this every time. So that's something that you can say, this is an event that I run, kind of these are standard parameters, and just kind of launch it from that every time. You can track who's registered and attended, of course. And so you can do that and, then segment them, as we've talked about, and do different mailing to them. Zoom integration. Now, this is a really exciting one. Obviously, we're on Zoom right now, but Zoom kind of comes back into the system and it can interact with the events that you're running. So, ask us for more information on that, I'm sure, later, but, really powerful in terms of being able to get the links directly through and keeping track of who's attending and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, as with the mailing, all data is integrated back to the contact record. So anyone who's signed up here, you will be able to go onto their contact record and say, actually, yes, this person's received these mailings, but they've also been to these events. And so it's all creating this 360-degree view so you can understand, how this person's interacted with you. And I think at that point, we're on to the demo, which Patrick will be going into all of that in a bit more detail.
Fantastic. So here we're going to create an event, and you can see we're creating it from a template of gala dinner, and you can add in the time. So that time can be a specific time on a day, and you can also add an end date. So if it's a week-long event, you can make sure it shows for the whole week. You can put a maximum number of participants and then offer a waiting list if you've got not enough space in your meeting room. And then once that's created, we'll click through, and then that's created from the template, so you don't have to go into detail creating it each time. You can use an existing location or a new location. This is our office, and we're saving that so the event is happening at the office. And then here you can choose whether it's a free event or a paid event, and then how you're going to take the payment. So you can take it by Stripe online, but also enable pay later, and then give details on how you'd like that pay later to happen. And then here we've got options for adding different fees. So that could be for different members, or seat for one and seat table for 6. It could also be, a donation on top of buying your seat. And then you're able to give that as a default as well. And you can give cheaper, and you can give a discount for if people sign up a bit early. We don't have to add that as well. So you've got lots of options. It's really very flexible. So you can allow registration online or only allow it offline. And then you can give options for how many people you'd like, a maximum additional participants. And then on registration, you can give lots of options, for example, dietary preferences, and make sure if it's an in-person event, make sure people are allowed to register what allergies they've got. Then you can have a confirmation screen, a thank you email, and a thank you screen. And that email you'd be able to write in whatever you like, just confirming that they have booked. And then that can come from whichever email address in your organization you'd like. And then you can BCC that as well. So whoever needs to see that can see. And once that's saved, you can schedule reminders. So the reminders could be scheduled for a week before, a day before, whichever you like. So here we are, and then you can send that to whichever recipients you like, registered or however you like that to be. And then you can use a template. So we've got template here, and again, they have tokens similar to Alex was mentioning earlier. So you can include their first name in that email title or in the body of the email as well. And then you can also have a scheduled email afterwards, so that anyone who attended gets an email saying, thanks for coming. It was great to see you there. And then, for example, here we're including a link to a donation page, so you can ask them to donate after being at the event. We also have a tell a friend area, where you can ask your attendees to tell a friend about the organization or about the event and enable that. Then we have personal campaigns, so there you're able to give your attendees options to do that. And then we have a repeating event, so you can make it an event that repeats at whichever schedule that suits you.
Thanks, Patrick. I think it's over to me now. So we've talked about managing the contacts. We've talked about communicating with them. We've talked about bringing them in and hosting events. And now let's talk about how we're going to manage the donations that are going to come from all these channels. So what's really important is that you can really easily record all of the donations, as we saw, against every individual contact record. And you can also record the source really clearly. And it's really important to know where that donations come from, what email campaign, what event, what individual fundraiser, whatever it may be. You can also define, well, we like to call core or restricted funds. So obviously core funds is every fundraiser's dream. We all want core money to coming into the core fundraising pot. But when you are running specific campaigns or raising money for specific projects for a certain period of time, you do need to be able to easily track and record what money needs to go there and be ring-fenced for that. There is direct debit giving ability, as I mentioned before, by using Go Cardless. And we really encourage using direct debits through Go Cardless, so you can take that from a bank rather than a credit card, which will expire at some point, and then you'll need to ask them to set up a recurring donation again. We have obviously online donation forms, and we're going to see an example of that in just a minute. You can automate those thank you receipts, which I know it's almost, it's an expected given at the moment, but being able to really tailor those receipts if something's come in from a specific campaign or after a specific event, you want to really make sure you personalize and tailor those receipts. Creating groups for tailored communication. So as Alex showed you before, creating those mailing groups. So you can set up rules where if someone donates to a certain campaign, they get added to a certain group, which will then update them on that campaign using that smart dynamic group criteria. Or perhaps if someone donates over a certain amount, they then maybe get recognized as a major donor, and then you might want to put them into a slightly different communications group. So really important to be able to do all of that. We have online gift aid declarations. Of course, everyone wants to be able to capture as much gift aid information as possible. And we also have a Just Giving integration, which is really good for that kind of fundraising. But also personal campaign pages can also be created. So basically like having your own Just Giving that runs through your own site. So that's just an introduction. I'm going to hand over to Alex, I believe. Yes, to Alex, who's going to show you an example donor form.
Yes.
Sorry, I will just say gift aid. Sorry, there are a few UK references here. Apologies. Gift aid is a UK government donation tax relief, basically.
Yeah, so we'll reference it, but just because it's some really nice UK tax relief, it's very important to the people in the UK, so we do like mentioning it. But yeah, what does the average one look like here in terms of like the average donation form? So here you can see we've got the different sections of it. We've got some details. Obviously, I filled this in earlier, so you don't have to watch everything be filled in on the spot. You can choose your custom fields, as you saw interest areas there. You can choose to join a mailing list at the same time. In terms of your payment, you can make the one-off donation, which, as I've mentioned in the chat, is made via Stripe. Can be eligible for gift aid, put that down, the important UK tax scheme. You can then also, just put in your card details, of course, it's quite simple. Put the contribution amount you want to put in. So here we want to donate £50. And of course, you can set this in different currencies. But we've made our donation there. And if I go to the back end and I have a look for Carol on the back end now, I can go to her page and I can see all of her information has come through. We've got a donation here, her name, her address. We can see if we look at the mailing subscriptions, she wants to be on the mailing list. We can look at custom fields. We can see the interest areas she signed up for. So we can see all these things have come through. We can also look at the contributions and we can see that the donation has come through on the form there, the £50 that we talked about. And we can also see her gift aid declaration has been declared. So all fantastic, all coming straight through, that simple. Fantastic. And I think it's back to Louise now, who's going to be talking a bit more about major donors and trust and foundation tracking.
Tracking major donors, exactly. Thank you for that, Alex. So major donor tracking. So this is what I used to do a lot of. I was a major donor fundraiser. So what's really important is really keeping on top of all of the opportunities that you have. And what you can do in CiviPlus is really create your own pipeline process. So if you want to have different stages, you can define how many stages and decide what they are. So it may be interest declared, first meeting, proposal sent, whatever it might be. And so we'll show you what that could look like in a minute. You want to be able to track all the activities and all the tasks. So as I talked about that task management, you can even have auto tasks created as something happens. If you move someone from one stage to another, it could automatically create a task like follow up in 1 week or whatever that might be. Timelines and deadlines, you can set those up, especially for trust and foundation tracking if you've got to get an application in by a certain time. And joint with that, the ability to upload files. So you might want to keep track of what you've sent to who, so what applications you've sent into any foundations or what proposals you put forward to any major donors. Equally, you can also have a field where you can just add a link which could lead into your anywhere, your drive, wherever you're keeping all of those that information. So you can store it on the system or you can link to somewhere else where you're storing that. Clear opportunity ownership, that is the most important thing. If someone is cultivating a major donor, everyone else needs to know who the point person is, basically. So before they interact with them in any other way, they'll need to know who is the lead person managing that relationship. And then equally, you'll be able to see if there are any other members of staff who are also interacting with that donor at any one time, as I said, through that network of relationships. So you can really just keep track and collaborate between yourselves to make sure you're not double asking or whatever it might be. Recording all the people involved. So that's internal staff, but it also might be lots of other people. So if you're applying to a trust or a foundation, you might know one of the trustees or somebody on the board. You might want to link them to this opportunity as well. And then, of course, that leads into having soft credit donations to other contacts. So if someone is on a board of a trust, they won't be the one that makes the donation. The trust will, but actually you want to soft credit them. Or if you have a major donor who's got a partner, you don't want to have, then got a £1,000 donation from one and then go to the other one and ask for it again. So you really want to make sure those soft credits are really clear and the system can do that for you. So that's the introduction. And now I'll hand over to Patrick to show you what the pipeline tracking could look like. But obviously you can design your own.
Fantastic. So as Louise said, you get a really nice overview here, and these can be changed to exactly the language that you would like. You can see an overview, and then we've got 2 prospects here. We can see timelines. So it's the 27th today, but we know on the 29th we've booked a call with Tony Stark, and then you've got 2 activities due this week. You can look at that. Then if we click into the proposal stage, you can see what you've got in proposal. You can see currently leads that you're involved in, but also have an overview of the rest of your team as well. And then you can split that down into whichever kind of potentials you've got going on each time. Then we're looking here at this potential donation from Tony Stark. We can see communications, we can see the financial information, we can see all activities, past ones and then future planned ones. can also see the people, the prospect owner, and then the person themselves, and then any files that that are connected to that. You can send an email and you can add activities kind of from the donation page. And then once that's done, you're able to kind of put it through that stage from proposal all the way up to donation received. And then that's what a nice overview looks, and it looks like, and it's really easy to see from all of the team's point of view. If I move on back to Alex to go over reporting.
Yeah. So of course we have talked about reporting a few times here today. You know, we talked about it within mailing, but there is of course reporting so much more than just mailing within the system, you know, events, contacts, all the rest of it. And it's very, very comprehensive and also easy to use. Or very importantly here, there's clear tracking for donations, so you can see all the different places they come from. You know, of course, it's only as powerful as the data that you actually input and are collecting, so you've got to make sure that's fantastic. But once you've got the data there, you can do so much with it. You know, there's so many report templates. I think with CiviPlus, we come with over 100 out of the box. But you can, of course, build your own custom reports on top of that, as we've said, mailing and events there. You can put key reports on little dashboards and little dashlets. So if you want to see them on your homepage, I don't know, like, you know, contributions, like donations over the last month might be an interesting one to see on your homepage, what might be most relevant for you, or the task list if you're a major donor person. And then you can do things such as have a look at like any custom field within these. So it's not just, you know, the very specific set of fields that are by default. Any custom field that you can create can be searched and reported on. So really powerful stuff here with the reporting functionality. And yeah, I think I'll pass back over, I think, to Louise at this point, who's going to summarize what we've gone over.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so there's just been a quick overview, an introduction, a 101 to how CiviPlus can help energize your fundraising. So let's just kind of do a little bit of a recap of those key points. So point number one, having a single source of truth, having all your data in one place and being really clearly and easily able to identify everything across your organization. It's the main starting point to be able to then do so much more from there. Secondly, automating manual tasks. Now we've touched upon a few things here, but actually there's so many different ways to create you know, many automations that will just streamline your processes, make it really easy for donors to reach you and to make those donations, and trying to remove as many kind of barriers to entry as possible, whilst reducing staff admin time as well. Creating personalized donor experiences. You've seen, we've tried to show you that as we've gone along. We've talked about adding tokens. We've talked about segmenting your data, putting people into groups so they're getting the right kind of communications. And all of these things combined are going to really help that donor feel very engaged and appreciated on an individual level by your organization. And yet you'll be able to do that at scale. And that's the beauty of the power of CiviPlus. Easy online donations, as I said, making very simple, easy to use forms, easy payment processes will just make everything much more smoother, and it will encourage people to donate again. Insightful reporting also is really important, to be able to analyze all the information coming into your system, and then, as I said, be able to make informed decisions about the direction or what's worked well or whatever you need to do next for your organization. And finally, drum roll, please.
That's correct, Patrick.
No, it's a big mystery. Ah, here it is. And finally, having that full 360-degree view of your donors' interaction with your organization, having it all in one place, easily to hand. I certainly know the major donor fundraiser, I want to look at a record and see all the information in one place. And that will really help me to tailor the way I communicate with them in whatever form that may be. So those are kind of like some key takeaways. Obviously, there's so much more we could talk about, but we only have 1 hour today. So just to summarize on the next slide, if you are interested in taking your first step on the CiviPlus journey, a little bit of information about how much it could cost. So we have 2 pricing tiers, all available on our website. There's contact-based pricing, which is really by the number of contacts that are in your system. This is the most popular model, and it's really good for growing charities. We've got lots of different tiers. And the starting tier is just £50 a month. For the our US customers, if you go on our website, there is a button on the left to click into our dollar pricing, so you'll easily be able to see the equivalent. And that will include up to 1,000 contacts with up to 5 staff users. And the alternative is you might be a small organization, but you might have a very big contact database. So you might prefer to use user-based pricing, where you can have unlimited contacts and you just pay per user per month, £67.50. And again, the US equivalent in dollars. I'm not going to try and do the conversion now in my head. I suggest you go to the website just to check that, or Gary will be able to talk that through with you in more detail. And of course, all the other pricing tiers as well. And just to be clear, that pricing package offers all of those CiviPlus features I showed in that first overview slide, all out of the box. It's up to you whether you choose to use them all or not, but they're there for you as you grow and develop your organization, and therefore might need more functionality in the future. And we'd love to talk. Well, I say we'd love to talk, but Patrick, we'd all love to talk, but mainly Patrick and Gary would love to talk to you. So for anyone based in North America, Gary would be reaching out to you and is the best person if you'd like to reach out as well, if you're ready for a conversation straight away. And Patrick will be taking any other inquiries and reaching out to anyone else as well. So, but we're all here and we're all really looking forward to engaging with all of you further, depending on whatever point in the journey you are. I think, Alex, are you going to talk about
Yes,
the
so
next
go on to the
webinar?
next slide. So obviously you've got quite a lot of charities here today, but I know some of you also do membership. But yeah, our next webinar is going to be on organizational memberships in your CRM. So it's a topic we get asked about a lot. So we want to go into a bit more detail about it, about how that works within CRMs. So if that is interesting, sign up for that. If it's not relevant to you, then we'll be doing another webinar the month after, which might be of more interest. So keep an eye on like the usual channels like email, social media, and see, you know, what we're up to, because we'll be doing more webinars related to nonprofits kind of situations as usual. So
All year,
yes.
all year.
Oh yeah.
And just to be clear, for those who may not know what organizational memberships is, so that's for membership associations that will have organizations rather than individuals as their members. There's lots of organizations out there. One of our clients, the World Heart Federation, is a very good example of that, where their members are all the heart charities around the world. So they're all individual organizations, and they're all members of the World Heart Federation. So that's just, if it's not relevant, perhaps you know another organization that it could be relevant for. So please do pass that on.
Yeah. Although equally, Louise, you know, there's some stuff within it where if you have like local chapters or branches, that can also have some interesting overlap within this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's lots of different ways to interpret that. I can see I've frozen on the screen. So
but yeah, basically this is just where it's not like individual people as members or, you know, part of your organization.
Great. So I think with that, that is the end of our webinar today. Thank you all for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll be happy to stick around for a couple of minutes if anyone would like to ask any questions. But I think we'll stop the recording there and say thank you to everyone for joining, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thanks, everyone.